So here are 5 things that I think we learned from the dev server. We start off with Gaijin might not admit, but it is a patch that indeed feels a little bit like something is missing. Maybe more so for us that play top tier jets, of course, because for everybody else, to be honest, it is kinda okay. We had some top tier tanks being added, we had some mid tier tanks being added, we have some new AAs, and even some very interesting ships, right? But for top tier jets, I mean, we had copy pastes and of course one Sufa new jet, right? But at the end of the day, it is not really that different because it's new on F-16. So there is a little bit of a feeling, especially for us, play, mostly these types of jets, that something is missing. But that might not be a bad thing, actually, because I always had this in mind before I made content, that, for example, if I was playing, for example, with the Russians at the time, right? And I reached the maximum possible tier of aircraft there. So I had all the MiGs, all the Sukhois and stuff. And then we had a patch that the US had something, but I didn't want to play it with it, or it wasn't something that I would love to see it. Like, I don't care too much about it, something like that. It would mean that in the next patch or in the next couple of patches, I would actually see something that I love. So although you might not have seen like a Super Hornet or something that you are very excited about being added, I have this feeling that when that happens, it means that the next patch will be more exciting, right? That something good is actually coming for the nation that you want, for the tier that you want. So I have a feeling that they're gonna push forward very quickly to more and better 4.5 generation jets up to the end of the year. We might probably see that Super Hornet and stuff like that. Maybe an Su-35, who knows, right? So I think they're gonna push forward with this in mind. Although this patch was kind of slow on that regard, I think we're gonna see more of these being added very soon. Just because we didn't have anything being added, basically, that it's brand new, really brand new for this update, right? The second thing that we learned is that they're gonna go full modern AAs, man. I mean, we kind of knew this when they leaked and confirmed the Buck and SAM-T, Skysaver, IRST, SLM, and etc., but they are going full-on modern AAs. I wouldn't be surprised if we see Patriots and other modern systems like the Buck, kind of, and the SAM-T and stuff in next couple of patches, right? So for sure, the Patriot is something that comes to my mind because every single nation can have a Patriot apart from maybe the Russians only, I think. I have to check, but I think only the Russians wouldn't be able to have in their tech tree full-on Patriot system. So I have a feeling that they're pushing full forward to have that system being added, and we will see for all nations these very, very modern AA systems. I think that's great, of course, because it defends the tanks, it defends everybody, and it makes sure that you have something to play with that really have a chance of destroying cast from a long-range perspective. Yes, multipath will always be a problem if they don't remove it, but anyway, these AA systems are pretty scary. If the aircraft, before they could just reign supreme, even with Panzers and stuff, if you knew what you're doing, you could kill, Panzers, I don't know, but for the most part, all the other AA systems, you could kill them very easily depending on the aircraft that you were using, the tactics, and now it's shifting towards another thing, right? So that is great to see, and it's something that you can feel when you play in the dev server, that they're just pushing forward with these very, very modern AA systems. It's kind of even scary to see these AA systems firing these missiles at Mach 4.5, 70-kilometer ranges, so it's crazy. The third thing is that modern AAs that we were talking about we have to have very near into the future SEED, suppression of enemy air defenses, or basically killing missiles that can kill enemy air defenses, right? I know they already tested some of these SEED kind of missions. They already, of course, said that the older missiles, they're kind of bad, but the newer ones are kind of good. And yeah, I have a feeling that it's going to go in a similar way with the EA systems here. Because, for example, we didn't have a Hawk system being added. We didn't have an early Buck system, an S-300 that is very early. We had one of the most modern Russian AA systems being added in this update. So because the older ones are very difficult to balance. They are not that good sometimes. So it kind of makes sense, right? So I think seed missiles and stuff like that will be kind of the same. You know, they will just push forward to the most modern ones first, maybe, and then later being added the older ones, because the older ones are kind of bad missiles, right? And especially with these AA systems, you have a feeling when you are playing the dev, guys, you just have the feeling that you need these missiles, start to have these missiles to actually kind of have a chance. You know, unless you do multipath and you fly over the target and you are very quick on finding where the target is and you do very, very specific tactics. If you fly high trying to get kills from further away, even with a KH-38 or something like that, it becomes a little bit harder and harder the more they go with these AA systems, right? So I have a feeling that the way that it is with the buck, with the missiles that we are having, you just have the feeling that this is almost impossible to destroy unless I had a seed missile or something like that, right? So I think they're gonna push this forward very quickly. Another thing is more modern ships could work very well if they decide to make series work, in my opinion. So the more missile ships that we have, the more I can feel that even though we are still using missile ships, or ships that have missiles, I must say, right, that can actually just fire with SACLOS, basically, I'm starting to have a line of thinking here that with the Adams, with the Grisha that they're adding, I had this feeling that if we had series being added in the future, very much we can actually have missile boats, proper missile boats, and Cold War ships in a general sense. Yes, the ranges would be insane on these boats. Of course, they wouldn't probably need to increase the range of these vehicles. I don't think they should increase too much. And it will be more of maybe a boring gameplay for some, because it would be more of a tactical gameplay than anything else. Because if you show yourself, you know, the missiles, the detection, this will be playing a part very much on these longer ranges, 20, 30 kilometers. I mean, these missiles can do like way more in real life, like the proper anti-ship missiles from the Cold War, right? They can do 100, 200 kilometers, but we don't need that much. But I have a feeling that if you had more anti-ship missiles, but we had series automatically working, and also maybe an automatic system to deploy missiles onto these upcoming missiles, so missiles to defend missiles, I have a feeling that we would be able to have these more modern combat in ships, and it would make it to be a lot better. Honestly, I still believe that they need to add submarines first, but playing with the Grisha, playing with the Adams, I can see that missiles are not that big of a problem. Even if these are 14, 10, kilometer missiles that are SACLOS, but it's the same principle as the new AAs. If you really think about it, yes. At one point in the game, they were only adding SACLO missiles to AA systems like the Panzer, etc., right? But now they're adding these types of things that are active radar homing or IR guided, right? With these ships, it would be kind of the same. And the more I play with these newer ships that have missiles and stuff, the more I see this. If they properly implement a series, if they have a way for these missiles to be used as a defense, like the OZA, like the RIM-24 there for the Adams and stuff, we can actually have, these are very old missiles, maybe not these ones, but 70s and 80s missiles, stuff like that, S-300s and, the best, like the standard missile and stuff like that. The more of these missiles they are added, if they are added like a semi-active radar or active radar even, I think they could work with anti-ship missiles. It would be a modern combat arena with modern ships. I think it could work. I don't think it's a big leap from what we have right now in ships, but I think it could work. Especially with submarines, it would be a very cool thing, and I think a lot more people would play ships if we had more modern stuff. So yeah, I think Gaijin needs to consider. The more I play with it, the more I have this feeling. And with this dev, I had this in mind, right? When I played with the Adams and the Grisha, this is the only thing that came up to my mind, right? And the last thing is that sub-Ps, guys, are the only way for some nations to get stuff in the future. The Finnish, the Swedish, right, with the Finnish and the Norwegians now, maybe, the Thai with the Japanese, all of these quote-unquote minor nations, it's the only way for them to get stuff, okay? It's the only way. These devs just showed to me that prototypes are not really the best thing ever. We need to continue to go to sub-trees for having additions for these nations. Japan with maybe Indonesia now. Like I said, the Swedish with the Norwegians, the French with more European nations in the future, I don't know. But in a general sense, it feels like there's not another way, because Japan, guys, doesn't have anything else, basically. Yes, minor differences here and there for vehicles, and yeah, prototypes, or paper vehicles, which I hated even more, right? So yeah, the Thai sub-tree kind of remind me in this dev that we need more sub-trees. The more sub-trees we have, the more uniqueness. I know sometimes everybody will have an F-16, everybody will have a certain vehicle, F-104, etc., right? But at the end of the day, it's better to have these and unique additions like the F5TH, right? Or the SUFA and stuff. The unique additions that are modifications of vehicles in sub-trees or smaller nations than not have anything, right? So this became very clear in this dev server, that we need that to be able to have an Oplot, to be able to have the Stingray, the F5TH, stuff like that. We need sub-trees. So that's something that I learned. And basically this is it, guys. I hope I'm not rambling too much here. But these are the 5 things that I learned from the dev. Hopefully they continue to add stuff that we talked about. And yeah, let me know in the comments what is your 5. And I see you guys on the next one. Bye, guys. See ya.